Welcome back to the Good Word here with Tim Cato of The Athletic. Tim, the finals begin on Thursday. I'm expecting a lot of spread pick and rolls on both sides, a lot of switching, a lot of we're going to put Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford in the action on one side of the floor and then bring them on the other action on the other side of the floor. Like, this is going to be one of those coaching strategy series because I don't feel like either team has a decided advantage. I know people think Boston has a talent advantage, maybe top to bottom, and perhaps they do. But I see this being, if my best player is better than your best player, I got a better chance than you.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we seen that play out exactly like that? I think this series is fascinating. And I was really going through it last night, trying to figure out how I feel it's going to play out on both sides of the court. One thing that really stands out to me is that both teams challenge a core part of each other's identity. So for Dallas and the Dallas offense, Boston's defense does not double team. They don't send blitzes. They sent the second fewest the entire regular season. The only team that sent fewer blitzes, like sent doubles off these picks, was Detroit. Maybe Detroit should have tried doubling a little bit more. So Boston has this idea that every time, like, they have so many good perimeter defenders that they're going to switch as much as possible. They're going to play drop coverage. They're going to get you into one-on-ones. They're not going to give you 4-on-3 basketball. Against Luka Doncic, sometimes he just makes you do that. We saw that in Game 5, right? The closeout game against Minnesota.
Yep.
There was nothing you could do but double him. There was literally no other option. And so that identity for Boston is either they're going to have to commit to switching, and that includes at times Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis. You can hide those guys on Derek Jones Jr., but maybe if Maxey gets in the game, he's more of a pick and pop threat. You may just have to switch even the big men, and you may have to switch. You may have to switch Sam Hauser. You may have to switch Derek White, who, as good of a defender he's lighting
the pants, baby. Light work.
Yeah, maybe. Well, Luka might look at that guy and be like, you're too small.
Yep,
you're too short. You might do the little too short thing. So on the other side of the court, Dallas's identity is that they always stay at the rim. They always have help protection there. They're going to find a shooter. They're going to sag off of them. Can you do that with Boston? I'm not so sure. This is probably the best shooting team of all time. Is that crazy to say?
That is crazy. That's insane to say, Tim Cato.
That's probably crazy to say. What I will say is it's the best spaced team of all time. Best shooting team, let's talk about like the ceiling of like those Warriors teams, stuff like that. The KD Curry Warriors.
Yes, there we go.
But spacing, just every single player who will play in the series for Boston can make threes. And every single player will take 8 of them. That's not something Dallas has run into, throughout this entire playoff series. Yes, Oklahoma City was a 5-out spaced team. Chet Holmgren was taking like 3 threes a game. He wasn't a threat in the same way. Certainly there was other players that Dallas kind of dared to shoot at times. Against Boston, I'm just not sure you can do that. And so I think both of those identities and who kind of wins or gets the upper hand will kind of define this series. And I do think both of these identities being challenged in these certain ways probably benefits the offense on both sides. As much as we talk about the defenses, I think these are going to be pretty high scoring, pretty efficient offensive games. Certainly, for the winning team in any given outcome.
Well, the crazy thing is I don't want this to turn into like the 3-point shootout, but it just might, right? Like,
yeah. Modern NBA, baby.
I hate it. I hate 50 3-point shots in the game. This is not the NBA I used to love. But we're here, right? You brought up something really interesting. First, I'm going to start with Dallas's offense. I felt like in Game 5, and we're going to go a little bit in the weeds here. I feel like in Game 5, Dallas started setting their screens so high up on the floor for Luka that it was like, you guys can't run around the floor as quick as we can move the ball around the floor. If you're going to blitz us, we are setting the screen damn near at half court. You can't cover 40 feet of space with 3 guys or 2 guys and everybody in rotation. And we're going to just, get you open shots that way. I feel like that's a strategy that they're going to try to replicate against Boston. Whether Boston switches or blitzes, even though Boston doesn't blitz, they feel like they can switch everything. I feel like Luka can still hunt Derek White Jr. He can still, I'm not Derek White Jr. Derek White. He ain't no
Too many Dereks in the series.
Yeah, it's a lot of Dereks. It's a lot
Adam
of Dereks.
Silver, you got to do something about this.
I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to run the hospitals and say, change that baby's name?
I don't know. There's something. I'm not the commissioner. I'm just saying something needs to be done.
Well, we will get Tim's thoughts on what makes a better NBA world at the end of this podcast. But I think Luka can hunt. I won't say he'll hunt Jaylen Brown, but I feel like he can wear Jaylen Brown down offensively by making him accountable defensively. You know what I mean? And like you said, the Horfords, the Sam Hausers, even the Porzingises, even when he's out there, assuming that he's all the way right. Like, I don't feel like there's any matchup that Luka wouldn't be comfortable in if he found himself there.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden McDaniels didn't make him look uncomfortable even for a moment.
No, he didn't.
You know, and so, you know, when you talk about, you know, defenders with size who can actually bother Luka, and that's all you're trying to do. You're just trying to bother him and annoy him. You know, certainly Drew Holiday is probably a better shout than, you know, Jaylen Brown or Derek White, and then Tatum. Tatum is like sized with Luka, and so I think that's where a lot of it's going to come. I mean, Boston's big question is kind of, I think they can win either path, and so those two paths are they can just start doubling him and they can get better at that throughout the course of the series, but they don't do that a lot. Like there's going to be some in-series learning if that's what they choose to do. Or they can single him. But I think if they choose to just switch everything, to let him score one-on-one, that has to be something they commit to for the entirety of this series. I think it's a huge disadvantage if Boston kind of panics, if Dallas gets a game and Boston panics and switches halfway through. Because the whole idea of saying, hey, Luka, we understand, like, you know, we're going to switch out, you know, whoever you want, and you're going to have to score on them. The idea is to wear him out over the course of the series. And unless you really commit to that, I just, what's the point of doing it? Like, but you're not going to play traditional, you know, drop coverages. Right. You know, Luka is the best alive at solving that. You know, you talked about these screens that they're setting for him literally, you know, almost literally at half court. You know, yeah, okay, just swim under it. And all of a sudden Luka's hitting that shot too, you know, like with range that is 30 plus feet. So he's the hardest perimeter player in the NBA to guard, and I, you know, do not have any jealousy of the Boston staff trying to figure that out, even with the defense they have. Well,
now we have to flip it, right? And you brought up the Celtics being, you said it was blasphemous when you said it. You know, John is going to like literally blurt it out as if you cursed. I'm going to make John do that because I don't want the world to view Tim Cato as some conspiracy theorist. But you said that Boston might be the shooting team you've ever seen. And I will say to you, Klay Thompson might have been the best shooter in the world, but wasn't the best shooter on his own team in 2017, right? All right, cool. But I say that to say pressure at the rim was how Golden State started to initially facilitate space. Steph could get to the rim. KD could get to the rim. Draymond, before Draymond got the yips, and I think in that third year, he was putting pressure on the rim, and that caused defenses to sort of overhelp swing, you get shots. Boston doesn't have that level of athleticism to get pressure to the rim. They're just trying to get that three-point shot. They're just trying to work there. How does that affect Lively and Gafford in the space that they're, you know, because that was the big problem against Minnesota. Anthony Edwards couldn't find the space to really explode. That's why when he dunked on Gafford that one time, it felt so cathartic because he never had the runway to actually get to the rim.
Yeah, that dunk came, you know, in Anthony Edwards' best stretch.
Yeah.
And it came after Derek Lively went out with, you know, that nasty, scary injury that turned out to be